October 14th, 2015. This forum will be featuring the 2 candidates who have filed for mayor and the 8 candidates who have filed for city council. Vote for not more than 4 city council candidates. The third highest vote totals will earn, the 3 candidates getting the highest vote total will earn a 4-year term, and the candidate getting the 4th highest vote total will get a 2-year term. The sponsor of this forum is the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. I am Tara Moon. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters. I am not a resident of this district. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, national, nonpartisan political organization whose members do this hands-on work to safeguard democracy. We never endorse a candidate or political party, but we are directly involved in shaping the important issues that keep our community strong. As a League of Women Voters member, I have an opportunity to serve in a leadership role such as this one that has a great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you are interested in how you can make a similar impact, I encourage you to pick up some of our membership information that is here tonight or visit our website at lwvoa.org. The League of Women Voters does not endorse a candidate or party. The views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, and the sponsors take no responsibility for them. The format for this forum has been established by the League of Women Voters. We ask that the audience remain silent throughout the forum. Please take this moment to turn off your cell phones or any other electronic device that might beep or make a noise during the forum. We ask that the candidates answer the question only with their views and not interrupt another candidate. The candidates will be answering questions submitted by the audience and screened for duplication and appropriateness by John McGarry, who is a League of Women Voters member. Pages Sarah and Sharon are circulating through the audience tonight with index cards and pencils. Again, if you want to ask a question, raise your hand and they'll come to you with a card. When your question is written down, raise it up in the air and they will come and pick it up. Somebody need to... No. The format for the forum is as follows. All candidates will be given 1 minute to make an opening statement. We have a timer sitting in the front row, Judy Bateman. She's also a League member. She will be letting the candidates know how much time they have remaining in their minute. Candidates will also have 1 minute to answer each question unless I decide to extend it. And then the candidates will give a closing statement at the end of the forum. And now I will introduce the candidates. For Mayor, Sylvia Jordan and Kenson Cyber. For City Council, we have Daniel Brightwell, Lloyd Cruz, Donald Fracassi, Diane Fizele-Thompson, Cindy Lance, Tanya Morris, Linny Taylor, and also on the ballot, but not here this evening, is Tiffany Tilley. Also on the ballot for this November 3rd election, there is a city proposal on the ballot, and I'll read that proposal now. Also know that there is a fact sheet provided by the city on the table out in the hallway. So you can pick that up on your way out too. So I'll read that proposal now. Proposed charter amendment elimination of city primary elections. Shall chapters 3 and 5 of the city charter, shall chapters 3 and 6 of the city charter be amended to delete sections 3.3, 3.4, 3.9, 3.10, 3.11, and 3.12, and amend sections 3.7, 3.8, 3.27, 3.28, 3.31, and 11.5, which would eliminate city primary elections and provide for the election of city officers at the general city election. Again, more information on that in the hallway. Okay. Candidates, I would remind you to address the audience when you're answering your questions. They are asking the questions. I am their mouthpiece only. And if you need me to repeat a question at any time, just let me know, and I'm happy to do that. All right, so we'll start now with opening statements, and we'll start with Ms. Jordan.
Thank you. Thanks to the League for hosting this event. I'm Sylvia Jordan, 28-year resident of the city of Southfield, elected 4 times, serving currently as council president, and I've been serving 5 times as council president in the past and 4 times as pro tem. I'm committed to moving Southfield forward, strengthening our neighborhood, making sure that we restore the library's hours of operation, making sure that we have family and cultural events, and making sure that our schools are actively funded, along with business development and entrepreneurial development. In my opinion, it's really important that we know the differences between myself and my opponent. And in my opinion, he voted to weaken the city's pension fund. I did not. My opponent was the chief architect in the privatization of jobs at school while he was there under his leadership in transportation, food service, and janitorial, and he did not choose to support the city's control of the Northland redevelopment.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Mr. Seibert.
Good evening, everyone. I bring 48 years of Southfield life experience to the role of mayor. I have served on the city council for 14 years, was a teacher administrator in the Southfield Public Schools for 45 years, and have been an active participant in civic life of Southfield for decades. I'm considered a city historian and extremely knowledgeable of our government, its finances, its people, and the city itself. I will continue to bring people together to collaborate on projects for the betterment of our community. My vision for the future of Southfield, which includes the City Council and Mayor working closely together, is outlined under priorities on my website, kencyberformayor.com. The Southfield, the cyber administration will be one of openness and improved communication with the city's various constituencies. The redevelopment of Northland and the completion of the city center vision are additional priorities beyond roads, code enforcement, and inspections of rental property.
Thank you, Mr. Seibert. Mr. Brightwell.
Thank you for the League. I want to thank the League for keeping the marks on stage, just as I did as a veteran for the United States. I'm a 35-year resident of Southfield. I'm currently retired from AT&T, 35 years in corporate finance. I have the MBA in finance and also have the background in auditing. I want to utilize those skills to keep Southfield financially sound going into the future by balancing out budgets and also doing auditing and keeping track of the funds that are being spent on the roads and also the 2011 public safety knowledge. I'm currently endorsed by Congresswoman and also UAW, FLCIO, and several current council members and retired council members. I want to make sure that when I'm on council that you will understand that I have a track record, and one of my bosses once told me everything Dan touches, he makes better. So I want to make sure that you understand that, and it will be a bright day with Brightwell, and all is well with Brightwell.
Thank you, Mr. Brightwell. Mr. Cruz.
I would have to come after that. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the League for having us here today. My name is Lloyd Cruz. I'm an 8-year resident of the city of Southfield, a homeowner, a father of a 12-year-old son that attends Southfield Public Schools. I work here in the city as a tenured professor at Oakland Community College, and had 15 years at the Southfield campus where I was executive director and dean of students. I felt that experience was applicable to and transferable to me serving on council. In 2013, I ran and was later appointed in 2014 and have been serving on the council since December of last year. Again, you're going to hear probably 5 or 6 more times about roads, neighborhoods, and safety. I think we can all agree on that. Those are all things that we believe in. That's mom and apple pie. I'm going to tell you, for me, one thing that is extremely important for us to do, and I was talking about this in 2013, was the future of Northland. We see where we are 2 years later. I am glad, and I did vote for the city to take over the Northland property, and I look forward to the development that we have coming forward.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Mr. Picassi.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Really honored to be here, and hope that we shed some light on what we do and how we do it, and those who are running for office and what you expect from them. I have been presently a mayor. I took over from Ben Lawrence, who went on to Congress. I'll be stepping down in November, running for council. I've been council president, I've been mayor for 30 years. I'm anxious to get back on the council so I can vote for something. The mayor, of course, does not have a vote, and I'm very accustomed to getting things done. We have a great city. I was raised in the city, my children are here, grandchildren are here, and my wife temporarily works as secretary in the Southfield schools. I've got kids in teaching at Levy. I got my daughter over at MacArthur, and I got my son-in-law who teaches at Southfield High School today. So we're very involved in the city. We want a beautiful city. We want a great city. And I think we have that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fracassi. Ms. Cecily Thompson.
Thank you. Thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting us tonight. Good evening, Southfield voters. My name is Diane Cecily Thompson. I have a bachelor's and master's degree from the University of Michigan. I'm a PhD candidate in the field of educational policy development. And I want you to look at me and my transferable skills. I've worked for a Research One institution for several years. I've conducted national research across the country. I have written grants that have brought in multi-million dollars on a research team, as well as served as president and vice president on the board of directors. My platform that you'll hear tonight in more detail is advocacy, including neighborhoods, community groups, and small businesses and decision-making in the city council, building collaborations and community development as the C. We need collaborations. We need to do more with little, and I hope that you can hear more from me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cecily Thompson. Mr. Lance.
I am running for election because of my loyalty to the city of Southfield. There is more work to be done. I wanted to represent the diverse meeting needs of our residents and have Southfield continue being this role. I want to help the residents face. I'm sorry, it's not light enough for me. All right, I want to help the residents faced with the losses and of home foreclosures to be. I'm sorry, I had eye surgery.
Yes. Can you have one more question? Sure, just a second. Just a second.
Kathy?
You're going to get up. She's going to give you the flashlight.
Oh,
There
good.
you go.
Good.
That's why I want to.
Good. Oh, that's better. Should I start all over?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm running for re-election because of my loyalty to the city of Southfield. There's more work to be done. I want to represent the diverse needs of our residents and have Southfield continue being the role model. We are proud of our diversity. I want to help residents faced with job losses and home foreclosures to find the resources to get them back on their feet, and remain in Southfield. The safety and well-being of the Southfield resident and business is of prime interest. We must remain strong. We must maintain strong police and fire departments. We must be vigilant in keeping assessments at a reasonable and fair rate, as well as monitoring the cost of city services. I want to encourage new residents and businesses.
Time's up. I'm sorry.
Thank you,
I'm sorry, everybody. I had eye surgery this month, and my sight is coming back. I'll be all right in about a month, but it is difficult to see.
Thank you, Mr.
But
Land.
everybody knows me. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Land. Ms. Morris.
Thank you, League of Women Voters and citizens of Southfield, for this opportunity. Again, my name is Tanya Morris. I've lived in Southfield for 19 years. I'm a wife and mother of 3. I've served in many capacities. I've been a block captain, precinct delegate, a team leader for Southfield for Obama. I'm the vice president of my neighborhood association, Washington Heights. And for the past 15 years, my husband and I have ran the Junior NBA youth basketball program in partnership with Southfield Parks and Rec, serving over 4,700 youth. I am a graduate of Southfield High School. I graduated from Michigan State University with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering. I have a master's in health services administration from the University of Michigan. I also am the CEO and founder and CEO of a nonprofit organization. And I look forward to working with the city, and I believe my leadership and experience and my willingness to serve will be an asset to the city of Southfield.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Ms. Taylor.
Good evening. My name is Lenny Taylor, and I am a resident of the city of Southfield for 20-plus years. I'm a community activist as well as a public servant. I've been a precinct delegate. I've been a member of this Southfield Library Board, this beautiful facility that we're in tonight. I'm the former chair of the Southfield Lathrop Democratic Club, and I'm currently the second vice chair of the Southfield Lathrop Democratic Club. I am currently the chair of the Southfield Planning Commission. I have a master's degree in human resources. I have a bachelor's degree in business management. I was unanimously appointed to the Southfield City Council, and I served 2009 to 2011. While on council, I received my certification from the Elected Officials Academy of the Michigan Municipal League. I am currently the administrative payroll auditor for Federal Mobile right here in the city of Southfield. I am Lenny Taylor, and I am running for Southfield City Council because I am committed to the people and the progress of Southfield. I am qualified, I have the experience, I am ready, I am willing, and I am able. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. We have Tiffany Tilley with us now. Ms. Tilley, your opening statement.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First, I want to start by thanking the League of Women Voters for having this and for inviting me and for giving me this opportunity to speak to all of you. I am a longtime community and political activist. I have lobbied in D.C. I have lobbied in Lansing. I fought to raise the minimum wage here in the state of Michigan, and many other efforts. I am the corresponding secretary for the 14th Congressional District. I was the senior advisor for Jennifer Granholm for the Millennials, and I have been just extremely active. I wanted to come make a difference in the community here in Southfield. I got my MBA from UOB. I've studied in several countries, and many younger people, they become talented, experienced, educated, and they leave. But I wanted to come and I wanted to bring my talent to help the city. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. Okay, we'll now start with the questions, and we'll start with Ms. Jordan, and I will rotate who goes first through each question. Ms. Jordan, your answer to this question. If you had to prioritize how city money would be spent, what is your lowest and your highest priority?
If I had to prioritize the way our city money is spent, the first thing that we have to focus on is making sure that we keep the police and fire safe. We have to make sure that we keep our community safe and secure, so giving them the resources that's needed. The other priority would be giving back in the neighborhoods and strengthening our neighborhoods and making sure that our neighborhoods stay strong. The other priority would be restoring the hours to the library, making it more accessible, making it open for families and our young folks to get in and to increase in their education. And so those would be the priorities that I would have in terms of the community.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Mr. Cyber, same question.
I have talked to thousands of residents since June when we began canvassing neighborhoods, and the top three priorities that I hear from residents is, roads, code enforcement, and absentee landlords who are not maintaining their properties, be they single-family homes or multiple-family apartments. I also want to state that as a councilman, even in our darkest days of the economic crunch we had, police and fire were top priority. We did not scrimp on police and fire. Matter of fact, we bought new equipment, including new fire trucks, new EMS units, everything that the police department asked for in the way of equipment, whether it was dashboard computers or improvements to their rifle range, we purchased.
Thank you, Mr. Seiler. Mr. Brightwell.
Finance is the mother's milk of any organization. And I would make sure that we finance the fire and police, number one. And to make sure that our public service maintain their excellent record with respect to response time. Secondly, I would pretty much make sure we finish the roads, and I would make sure those funds are spent as intended. And as a former auditor, we can structure a program to make sure that those funds are spent on, not on hubcaps or lunches, but specifically on roads, and also the public millage that we passed in 2011. And thirdly, the code enforcement. Code enforcement leads directly to property value. That would be a dog on code enforcement, making sure that we have appropriate codes, and also we would hire additional code people, provided the funds are there.
Thank you, Mr. Brightwell. Mr. Cruz.
Yes, I would have to say, again, I think it's all clear to everyone that we want good roads. We've already worked towards that. This passage of a bond, the $90 million bond. We've been working on it. Actually, to some folks' complaint, this year it's been very active this summer. The neighborhoods, we want to keep them clean and looking good and safe as well. We've had, reduction in violent crime over the last 7 years. So all those things we already know. I think what we need to do as a council moving forward is take the time to sit back and develop and create a vision for this city and be a proactive council and not a reactive council. What I've found in the time that I've been here, it seems to me that we are not taking the lead in where we want to see this city going, and in fact we're just doing more reacting. So part of that lead would be, first and foremost, getting a plan for Northland straightened out and getting at that right away, because that's right at the entry point of our city, and we want to make sure that that's the first thing people see when they come into Southfield, that it's a gem of a building or whatever we're going to have there moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Mr. Kowski.
Yeah. Each and every day as mayor or councilman, you have different things that face you each and every day. To set priorities, we try to set priorities when you pass your budget at first in July. You make sure that money is there for the respective things that you have decided to do that year. And you have to have money set aside for those things that are unknown at the time. For example, we ran the other day, months ago, and we had flooded basements, and we went to home security. We got FEMA money to help the people with their flooded basements. When you have situations that occur throughout the city, you make those judgment calls as you see needed. We are very, very proud of our public safety. I wanted to say that just over my desk last week, our violent crime, and all crimes are down now 78%. It was 72, and they just made it now 78%. We are better than any 20 surrounding communities to Southfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perkowski. CPA Thompson.
Public safety is a major priority in terms of resources. Could you please repeat the question for me?
Yeah, sure. If you had to prioritize how city money would be spent, what is your lowest and your highest priority?
Again, public safety would be the highest priority, impacting quality of life for our seniors, for our families, for our neighborhoods, for businesses. In order to attract businesses, you have to have public safety, or you cannot get businesses here, you can't get residents to stay in our communities. Public safety is important for our schools. As much as our colleague says that our crime rates have improved, there's still extreme variability within Southfield. The closer you are to 13-Mile Road, the safer your neighborhood. The closer you are to 8 Mile, your crime statistics are higher. Public safety remains a priority. The other would be to invest resources into the Northland area so that there's a redevelopment in that area that combines research and development, the hospital that's neighboring there, and put training programs and research and training for our K-12 community college and four-year institutions here in the community.
Thank you, Ms. CPA Thompson. Mr. Lamb.
Yes, it seems that I can't read my speech tonight, but I'll tell you who I am. I'm a veteran of the Second World War, and I have done everything that everybody is saying that they hope to do. I have done everything. If you read my flyer, read my history, you will see what I have done for 32 years in the city of Southfield, representing you. I represent every single person in this room. I have helped them medically, legally, everything. Everybody calls me to help them. I can't read my written speech, but I have done more. The Veterans Memorial Garden in front of City Hall, I built that. The police monument, I built that. I served on the Police and Fire Commission for 8 years, representing the police and fire departments.
Sorry, your time's up.
Thank you, Mr. Lance. Ms. Morris?
Number one would be public safety. Since the recession, we've had a 25% reduction in police force, going from 160 to 122 police, with the firemen 106 to 88. So definitely would make that one of the priorities. The next thing would be the roads. Most of the residents are very concerned about the roads, so making sure that we provide adequate oversight and construction and management of the roads project, making sure that they're fixed right the first time, on time, and within budget. Then also I would look at code enforcement, making we have a sufficient staff for code enforcement officers to continue to make sure that they address concerns and keep our neighborhoods beautified, safe, and orderly.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Ms. Taylor?
Thank you. There's three things that I hear constantly and what I'm running on: roads, codes, and public safety. Those are the three most important things. As the chairperson of the Planning Commission, I work with codes all the time. We have updated, modernized, and the city ordinances as well as the city codes. From that, we've brought businesses into the city of Southfield, Durr for one, L.A. Klinger for another. We have helped to reduce some of the paperwork, some of the red tape to get things done by updating our ordinances and codes, helping to bring the ordinances in line with the master plan so that things can progress as the way Southfield needs it to be. The thing that we also need is marketing of the city. So that would be one of the things, but it would be a lower priority. The top priority, again, would be roads, codes, and public safety.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Ms. Tilley?
I think we all share the same concerns. I definitely care about workers and making sure that our firefighters, our police officers are fully staffed, and that they have the resources they need to do the job that they are doing, and they are doing a wonderful job, but we want that to continue. As well as infrastructure, I feel it myself. My subdivision is being worked on currently, and the project has gone way over. So making sure that it is done in a timely manner, that it's not costing taxpayers more than it should, as well as I would love to see a walkable entertainment district here in the city, so we can attract more dollars and we can attract more families.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. The next question, we'll start with Mr. Stiver. I've gotten a couple questions about public safety, specifically the fire department, so I'm going to combine two questions, and can you give them a minute and a half? Okay, you have a minute and a half. Do you think it would be cost-effective for the city to allow the fire department to use the monies generated from transportation runs to hire additional firefighters and pay for vehicles that are needed within the fire department? That's one question. The other question is, do you have an objection to having a national search for the next fire chief? Do you want me to repeat those?
No, I heard you.
Okay.
And I have always supported, as I said earlier, everything that our police and fire department has asked for. If you don't have safety, you really have nothing. You can have a great library, wonderful parks, but we must have safety in our communities. And yes, we did reduce through attrition the number of police and firemen. We had to. It was we were in when you lose a third of your tax base, there were a number of positions that were not filled. Last year, we authorized the police chief to hire a number of new officers. I believe we added 8 new positions, plus a number of officers to fill the slots of retiring policemen. I had talked to the chief, and he said that he's had a little difficulty hiring officers because he is not looking for military-type police officers. He's looking for communications people who can diffuse situations rather than ignite them. I have no problem with using the money that's generated from ambulance runs to augment the services of the fire department. And as far as the question about a national search, I think absolutely we should do that.
Thank you, Mr. Seibert. Mr. Brightwell.
To answer you directly, I would definitely approve of funds being generated by the run, being spent by the fire department on whatever needs that are there. And also with respect to a national search, I would also approve a national search. However, I would like to make sure that we have our homegrown individuals included in that search. And also, a national search means that we can take a look at best practices all around the country. And it's all about, if we're doing things good and we're doing things better, we are in essence utilizing best practices from all over the world. And that's part of my corporate background. I've looked at best practices for numerous reasons in the financial arena. So I would definitely go that particular route. With respect to the police, I'm all for public safety. And as I've said in smaller forums, if you don't have public safety, it's about like going to school hungry. That's all you think about. So we got to have public safety, and individuals should feel safe that they can live and grow here in Southfield.
Thank you, Mr. Brightwell. Mr. Cruz.
Yes, again, I would agree with my colleagues here with regards to that. The dollars that are generated from those ambulance runs, I guess, would certainly be one option, but I don't think it necessarily has to be the only option as well. I think as we review our budgets on a yearly basis, I think we're moving into a point now where the city has an opportunity to begin to invest again and to a greater degree into its city services. Again, we tightened our belts for a number of years because of, dwindling revenues coming into the city, but as we're seeing ourselves rebound from those things, again, the city doesn't grow and thrive by cutting. It grows and thrives through investing into it and watching it grow. So I would definitely say that could be one option or one place that we can look at additional resources to support the fire department. In terms of the police chief, I do also agree that a national search is necessary. And I think that not only for this position, I would say that for just about any key position that comes available here in the city, we need to make sure that we have the best people available serving and leading our city in these various departments. And so there's no reason why we shouldn't do a national search. It should not exclude the current interim chief at this time from participating in that search, and that very well may end up being the person that we select, but we should at least have the options to look at everything that's available and everyone that's available and interested in that position, and I think that would be good for the city. And I did receive an endorsement from the firemen as well, so I just want to mention that too.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Mr. Picassi.
Yeah, let me say this right off the bat. Southfield is very cautious with the way they spend money. In our budget this year, the general fund, $40 million out of a $68 million budget is being spent on public safety. The revenue that comes in from the ambulance runs to Providence or Beaumont that the fire department do, it amounts to about $2 million a year. But to put that in perspective, let me say this, that we just bought 4 brand new EMS trucks in the bill of $750,000. So they need the best of equipment, and we need the best of men. And by doing that and doing the budgets properly, you end up with both. We're very cautious, and we do have 88 firemen right now, and we will continue to look and monitor what we have and what we do in the future. As far as the fire chief, he's a homegrown young man. He's got 28 years, 40 years in the city, something like that. He was raised here, bred here. went to school here. He knows the city backwards, forwards. Even with that knowledge, knowing about him, it's best is to go out for search and see how he compares to the rest of the people who've applied. So yes, we are going to try to go out for a search, but I just weigh heavily for him because of his background, and he was, of course, the support to Keith Rowley, who passed away.
Thank you, Mr. Fracassi. Ms. CZA Thompson.
Yes, I would absolutely support having the money from the run to go back into fire and safety. One of the things I would also mention is that when you look at revenue streams, diversifying is critically important. And as I mentioned earlier, public safety would be a priority. It has to be. Businesses, neighborhoods, families, it's a priority. Diversifying revenue means looking at state-of-the-art equipment. And again, you can't look at state-of-the-art equipment if you don't have research development here in Southfield that's looking at that. Nationally, look at that. There are grants available to bring that kind of technology here to Southfield so that it becomes a high-end fire department, a high-end police department. Grant money that supplements the $2 million run and also the acting budget for fire. The second thing, in terms of the national search, yes, I would wholeheartedly support a national search in addition to homegrown talent. I think it's critically important to look at talent across the country. And again, sometimes we get very comfortable with our ideas in our own community, but there's a whole big world out there with other ideas that we should also consider when we look at talent, especially in that key position.
Thank you, Ms. CZA Thompson. Mr. Lance.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. It's two questions. Do you think it would be cost-effective for the city to allow the fire department to use the monies generated from transportation runs to hire additional firefighters and pay for vehicles that are needed within the fire department? That's one question. The second is, do you have an objection to having a national search for the next fire chief?
Thank you. Yes, I do object to it. Spending thousands of dollars looking for an outside chief when we have a young man who's been with us for 28 years, a brilliant young man, exacting chief, twice spent $30,000 to $40,000 to bring in a strange man who don't know the men, doesn't know anything about the city, is not loyal to the city. My wanting to take this man who's with us for 28 years and make him the real chief, because he knows everything about the city and what to do. And we saved $40,000. And what was the other point?
Do you think it would be cost-effective for the city to allow the fire department to use monies generated from transportation runs to hire additional firefighters and pay for vehicles?
Well, that would be something that would be acceptable. We could, I think we have the money to do that. We can get grants to help do that, and I would go for it.
Thank you, Mr. Lance. Ms. Morris.
As Mayor Fracassi stated, we bring in about $2 million in revenue for the transports that the firefighters make. So I do think a portion of that money could be used for the hiring of additional staff. The second question, I am not in support of a national search. I went and spent a half a day with the firefighters on a ride-along, and I attended a training, and through our conversation, they stated that they had someone in mind, someone that was committed to the department, that had been here for a long time, and so we have the opportunity to promote from within someone that's committed to the city and has spent half of a career here, and so I'm in support of promoting from within.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. I have to agree with what's been said by both Sid Lance and Tanya Moore. I am totally in favor of EMS having those funds go back into their own department and using them. But I am not in favor of a national search. I too am endorsed by the firefighters. I have visited the firefighters. I know how committed they are, and I know that within the department that there are several people that would love to apply for that position, and they are qualified. And I don't think that the city should take, at this time, monies that they need for other areas to use on a national search when you have qualified individuals here in the city. We should hire according to the job description and what's required for the city of Southfield and those best qualified. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Ms. Tilley?
I think that redirecting the funds back into the departments is smart. One of the great things about Southfield is how strong our public safety is. It's one of the attractive things about Southfield. So keeping it strong, I'm definitely in support of that. I am not opposed to a national search, but I do believe that it is smart and it is good to look at home first. I think it's better to have people who know the territory, who know the people, and as long as they are qualified. And it sounds like we do definitely have qualified people here. So I'm not opposed to the national search, but I will start at home first.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. Ms. Jordan?
Thank you. At our council meeting last Monday night, I suggested that we go out for a national search for our fire chief. All too often, the city has promoted from within. However, in this instance, I believe that we need the best and the brightest fire chief, and I am in full support of doing a national search. As it relates to allowing the fire department to receive the funds from the transportation fund, we looked at this several years ago, and the previous city administrator brought to us the numbers that the city budget would benefit from the transportation fund. So I'm not in favor of putting those funds back specifically for the fire department. However, we as a city give the fire department the resources and the tools that they need. So we're not going to limit them from getting the equipment and getting what's necessary for them to do their job. However, those dollars are for the city, and if the fire department needs it, then we'll give it to them. But those $2 million that we slowly looked at several years ago is for the entire city budget, and we want to make sure that those dollars are used wisely and not just given back to the fire department.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. The next question will start with Mr. Brightwell. Primaries are designed to reduce the number of non-viable candidates in a given race. This process allows viable candidates opportunities to educate the electorate. With the proposed charter amendment, are we taking away Southfield citizens' opportunity for a fair and informed voting process?
No, we're not. I would be in favor of the elimination of the primary process, especially here in Southfield. The primary process is very costly, and the voters have until May, until November to vet every candidate that would be running. And there's numerous ways of vetting those candidates. Homeowners Association, your process here, walking the streets, knocking on the doors, and selling yourself as a candidate. And being a basic finance guy and I'm an accounting person, and an auditor, I'm very attuned to wasteful spending. And that would fall in the category of wasteful spending to me, simply because you don't have to spend that money. There's another process, which is the November election. And it just comes down to November. You just hit the street, you keep running till November, and then you're either eliminated or you're voted in. So that would save money. The city funds, and I'm in favor of it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Brightwell. Mr. Cruz?
Yes, well, of course, I'm already on record for supporting it because we as a council approved that language to go onto the ballot for this election. So do I think that eliminating the primary is taking anything away from the residents and voters? Absolutely not. In fact, if you look at us here today, there were 9 candidates that were running, and for $60,000, which cost the city, we eliminated one person. So we could have saved $60,000, and you would have had one more option to choose for city council. So in fact, by leaving this open, you have more options instead of less.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Mr. Fracassi?
Yes, I think that eliminating one person off this year's election process was a tremendous loss to the clerk's office. How many people have to be involved, bring in extra people to help with the election? And that number that Mr. Cruz mentioned is, I think, a little light. Sometimes it runs as high as $80,000, $85,000. That's a short answer to that question, but I'd like to go on and say this, that the city of Southfield keeps up with a lot of things, including grants. And we wouldn't have had the 88 men on the fire department if we wouldn't have got the SAFER grant. And in response to the public safety in the fire department, we had over 13,700 runs last year, and we got a national award. All the runs were under 5 minutes average, so it was just tremendous. And we in Southfield are very proud of both departments, and we continue to monitor everything they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fracassi. Ms. Cizale Thompson? CZA Thompson?
I'm going to need you to repeat the question, because are we back on fire?
No, I'll repeat it. Primaries are designed to reduce the number of non-viable candidates in a given race. This process allows viable candidates the opportunity to educate the electorate. With the proposed charter amendment, are we taking away Southfield citizens' opportunity for a fair and informed voting process?
I would not vote for this, and let me tell you why. My colleagues are sharing with you this year this particular experience that you had, and 2 people were eliminated at the time of the primary, and the potential cost that happened. You have a longer period of time with the primary. What if there were 15 candidates and 5 needed to be eliminated? Okay? You have the right to vet each and every candidate for office. And when you shut that time span and you get shorter and shorter, that is your right that is being condensed into a smaller period of time. You have a shorter period of time to make your decision on who will represent your interests as a resident in the city of Southfield. Saving money to do what? What are we going to do the money with? Do with the money that we save from the primary. So no, I'm not in favor of that, and I would like to keep the primary.
Thank you, Ms. CZA Thompson. Mr. Lance?
Yes. In reference to the primary, I believe in the primary. I believe in all the people who want to run for office to come forward and register and run, and let the people decide. If you have no primary, it comes to your general election, you don't know who you're getting. You don't know any of the people running, and of course, many of them, everything is exaggerated of what they do. You'll never know what they do. So I think to keep the primary and all benefits of all the people in the city.
Thank you, Mr. Lance. Ms. Morris?
You know, the night that the primary ended, it would have been great for me because I would have been elected and I came in 4th place. No more time and energy and money spent on campaigning, but, you know, it's not about me and it's not about money. I don't believe that you can put a price on democracy, and I feel like the primary gives us an opportunity to learn more about the candidates. Many of the people that I've spoken with, they know nothing about the primary, and I just feel like if we can make a decision to spend $500,000 for a piece of art on the boy and the bear, I think we can spend $75,000 on voter registration.
Sorry. Thank you, Ms. Morris. Ms.
No,
Taylor?
let me get a chance to finish talking. No, thank you. No.
You have 15 more seconds.
No, thank you. That's my comments. I just think that the Voting Rights Act of 1965 had provisions in it that call for voter education, accessibility, and I'm not sure if we are violating the Voters' Rights Act. I just think we should really think about this before we vote.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Ms. Taylor?
Thank you. Yes, and I have to agree that the primary election is the voter's right. You have a right to hear from candidates, see them, and just because this year had the turnout that it did, doesn't mean that every year is going to be the same. I believe you limit people and your ability to learn about what people have to offer, what they're bringing, and it hurts the whole process. So I would not want to see the primary go away. I think that we should use that to help educate us on the people that's running and the proposals and other things that's going to be on the ballot. Give us time to review, vet those, understand them, do the history on them, get the facts on them. We need that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Ms. Tilley?
I worked for the Election Commission in the city of Detroit, and I worked for the Wayne County Clerk. I've participated in many cycles of elections, and every election cycle is different. There may be a race that our race is nonpartisan. There may be a partisan race where there are numerous candidates, and some candidates would need to be eliminated to help voters and to help the process. I think that having primaries is definitely a fair process. While I do understand that we want to save money, I think that we should keep primaries.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. Ms. Jordan?
I believe that omitting the primary process sort of eats away the democratic process. I believe that we do need to have the primary kept in place. I've talked to a lot of residents and a lot of people, and they're not too favorable of this that we have on the ballot. So I'm in favor of the primary. I've run in many, many elections, and that primary race gives you a gauge on where you are and what you need to change and what you need to adjust moving toward the general. So I'm not in favor of eliminating the primary election.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Mr. Stiver?
I have mixed feelings about this. I understand the cost that the primary involves, but I also realize or know that only Southfield and only 5 other communities in Oakland County are running a primary. So the trend across the county has been away from summer primaries. And also, historically, it's been many, many years since Southfield had more than 10 or 11 people running for city council at one time. All of that said, I do know that the primary is a way to vet and candidates, and also for people to get better acquainted with those who are running for public office.
Thank you, Mr. Stiver. The next question will start with Mr. Cruz. What are you willing to do for the senior citizens in the city?
Well, first I just want to say one thing. What would have been undemocratic was that we didn't put on the ballot the opportunity for people to vote for taking the primary away or not. So it's not undemocratic because people have a voice. But in terms of speaking for seniors, I think that is an audience that has been long overlooked within the city. As I've campaigned, I've visited a number of senior homes around in the area, and what I've found is that a number of these folks are in these homes and there's nobody there for them. A lot of them are not eating on a regular basis in some instances. They're having no visitation, and I think the city definitely, even though we do have a commission for senior affairs, I think we should take some more time to look into investing in that, so that the city is actually taking a more active role in making sure the quality of life of seniors in the city of Southfield is continually increasing, and that they know that this city cares and supports them.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Mr. Percassi?
Yes. Historically, Southfield has always been concerned about the senior citizens. Matter of fact, I was very involved in the building of McDonald Towers back in Woodridge also. We've done a lot of surveys for seniors and their needs. We have a lot of programs for them. We have a lot of tours and places that seniors can get on a bus and go to places. We can make sure that they have, under the SMART, they have transportation to the doctors that they need to go to. And we have done a lot of things in programming, and most recent is fixing the Parks and Recreation building and putting a top over the main floor and getting more square footage, and moving the senior center up, the senior citizen department up over the top, so you have things that the seniors can meet there and have games and whatever entertainment they may need. So the senior citizen facility will be expanded to the second floor of the Parks and Recreation building. And so we're very concerned about our seniors, and we keep moving in that direction.
Thank you, Mr. Percusi. Ms. Fizier Thompson.
I'm a social worker and have worked at the hospital Providence for several years here in the community. I'm very familiar with our seniors and the services in Southfield. In fact, I've convinced other residents to come to Southfield because our senior services are so wonderful. However, those services need to be sustained and strengthened to continue because, as we know, our population is mushrooming. So our elderly will outweigh our working population very soon. One of the things that's part of my platform is collaborations and partnerships. Our K-12 school, our students, can learn a great deal from partnering with our senior citizens, developing programs with our K-12 educational system, and our seniors that are in McDonald Tower, that are in Trowbridge, that live in their homes alone, that need Meals on Wheels, transportation services to doctor's appointments. Those are the kinds of things that I would like to strengthen with our seniors here in Southfield.
Thank you, Ms. Fizier Thompson. Mr. Lamb.
As you see, I'm a senior. And all my 32 years on the council in this city, I have helped many seniors. I have clothed them. I have given them medical advice. I have given them legal advice. And there isn't a thing I didn't do for the senior people in our city. So everybody's right. Everybody wants to help the seniors, but I don't ask for help yet. But I believe the seniors are a very important part of our city. It's the seniors that vote. It's the seniors that do most of the volunteering. And, of course, we have to protect them, and I'll protect them as long as I live. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Ms. Moore.
I've met with many of the seniors, and they are concerned about two primary issues. One is transportation. I know that we have the smart bus system and TOS program, but they just aren't enough to help them maintain independence and quality of life. They want to go get their nails done. They want to go to the grocery store. They want to go do personal errands. So that's one thing they're focused on. The next thing is learning about various resources that are available to them regarding health care, disability, understanding if there are language interpretation, translation people available for them. We have a large immigrant population in our city, so that's a service that could be offered. And so I want to partner with the Area Agency on Aging, as well as work with the Commission on Senior Adults to look at other funding opportunities that are there to bring these resources to our citizens of Southfield.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. I have spoken with a lot of our seniors. I've visited them in their apartments, and a lot of what they're looking for is that independence that they've had all their lives. Now when they're in need, it's just harder for them to get around in the city to receive the things that they need for day-to-day living. So I would work very hard to assist them into receiving just the basic day-to-day lifelong things that they need, such as going to the grocery store, such as going to doctor's appointments, such as going to the beauty shop. And having people to talk to. Seniors also wanted to have activities and things to do. And I know that when we met at McDonald Towers with a lot of the seniors, what they said is that they wanted everything to be new and improved, and they wanted to feel like they were independent again, not having water not running or the elevators not working in the building. So we need to maintain their buildings and make them feel like they're important and that they're still vibrant and a part of the city of Southfield.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Ms. Tilley.
Growing up, I went around with my grandfather a lot, and I got to participate with him in senior activities. And going around on this campaign and speaking with our seniors, I've been very impressed with the senior programs that we have here, the senior activities, the exercise, the dance, the hustle, the games that they play at the Berg. And talking to the social worker at the Burg, who has tons and tons of information and resources, having a mother in a facility and speaking to some of our seniors in facilities. I think that it's important to change some of the laws, which would happen on the state level, and I would love to talk to our legislators about that, but changing some of our laws so that they are getting the things that they need in the facility, that there is enough care for them, that there are enough workers on staff for them, taking care of them. So I definitely would love to be an advocate for them on that.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. Ms. Jordan.
Question is, what are you willing to do for the seniors? I like to say we've done some things for the seniors here lately, specifically at McDonald Tower and River Place. We're down in the city, and we're remodeling, we're in the process right now of remodeling and upgrading each apartment, putting in new appliances and everything new in the apartment. So that's what we're doing for those that are living in the city, senior citizens homes. I think it's important that we give the seniors more accessibility to the resources that we offer in the city. Many seniors don't know exactly what we have. And we have great programs, great resources that seniors need to be aware of. But the other thing I'd like to do is set up a round table with youth and seniors, a generation-to-generation dialogue, because we've lost it in our community, the wisdom that the seniors have and the wisdom that the youth need. So I'd like to see some round tables set up to get that engagement and those conversations going.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Mr. Seibert.
As a councilman, I got very tired of or concerned about hearing from residents at McDonald Towers and River Park Place that no hot water. The elevators aren't working for several weeks. There was no heat or no air conditioning. I didn't need another job, but 5 years ago, I volunteered to serve on the Southfield Nonprofit Housing Board. And in my service on that board, I led a team that refinanced those buildings so that we are now spending, and this is not the city of Southfield, but rather the Nonprofit Housing Board is spending $37,000 per unit in totally revamping these apartments. They were built in the 1970s. They had 1970s kitchens. The bathrooms were old. We're putting in high level toilets so that it's easier to get up and down. We are installing a number of handicap units throughout the building.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Mr. Brightwell.
As chairman of the Veterans Commission since 2005, we've been recognized as one of the most veterans-friendly cities in the United States. My commission is recognized in the congressional record. I would do the same thing for seniors. We would obviously push the bird, the trip, the transportation, and all those things. But how we became the best veteran group is we started doing best practices. And people call me to this day trying to figure out how the Southfield Veterans Commission become so effective and efficient for veterans. And we would do the same thing for the seniors. There are certain best practices in Orlando, California, whatever. We would definitely make sure we reach out to those places to find out what they are doing. And pretty much do what is working here now. I understand some seniors are displeased with some of the activities, but I have spoken to some seniors, and they are pleased with what is happening in Southfield. And we can make Southfield a veterans-friendly. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Brightwell. The next question will start with Mr. Fracassi. If elected, what plans do you have to encourage code enforcement and to actively pursue those violators of the code? Mr. Fracassi.
Code enforcement's been one of the primary goals of the city for years. Code enforcement is kind of a problem that has several different aspects to it. You can say that you've called the code enforcement officer and they've come out and they've talked to the neighbor or whoever, and they write a ticket, and they write another ticket, and they write another ticket. Then you go to court, and the court gets them off. So that's one of the problems that the code enforcement officers have presently. We've gone to 7 days with our code enforcement officers, and that has helped a lot. We have a new person who is head of the code enforcement. We are in every single neighborhood, every single day, by divisions, by segments of the city, and they're working hard. And of course, you can always call 796-EYES and 24 hours response time for code. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fracassi. Ms. Fizier Thompson.
So there needs to be a greater connection between code enforcement and law enforcement. And I've talked a lot about collaborations and partnerships. We have wonderful offices in Southfield. We have code enforcement. It's there for a reason, because we have codes that you must adhere to as residents. As an owner of a rental unit, you have regulations you have to follow. To call code enforcement to come out and repeatedly give tickets for a violator is nonsense. There have to be consequences for behavior. Otherwise, you repeat the same behavior. So I would definitely advocate for a closer connection between law enforcement and code enforcement, so there are consequences, so that we can keep Southfield the environment that we have. Beautiful neighborhood, and keeping with the codes that we have set up as a neighborhood and a community.
Thank you, Ms. Fizier Thompson. Please turn off your cell phones from making noise. Mr. Lance.
Code enforcement is a very, very important part of the city of Southfield. If we have the correct code enforcement people working for us, it'll be fabulous. But in the recent time, we had some people resign and quit, and the pensions and everything. But we have to train our code enforcement officers to be a little bit more lenient, because the first thing they do is see a car, maybe pull into a parking place they're not supposed to be. They get a ticket, they write. I think we have to look into that and teach these code enforcement officers a little bit leniency, and the people don't have to pay high fines and ticket fines. It's wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Lance. Ms. Morris.
Many of our newer residents aren't familiar with our codes and ordinances. I'd like to serve as a citizens liaison to educate our residents about our standards and appearances. I'd like to promote good citizenship and advocate for decency and respect for your neighbor. I have a lady in my neighborhood. She's had her mailbox knocked over twice. One of her neighbors has a card party every Thursday night, and she's angry, but she's not comfortable with saying anything to this gentleman. And her husband has told her, just don't say anything, it's not appropriate. But as a citizen liaison, that's where I could come in and maybe try to mediate the situation. So that's something that I think would be valuable in terms of code enforcement.
Thank you, Ms. Morris. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. Code enforcement needs to be looked at and updated. Frankly, we need to modernize our codes. They were written when Southfield was first established, and let's just face it, some of the things, they're just not doing what they were intended to do. I am a strong advocate to have a committee of the citizens and the employees of the city of Southfield, as well as some of the council, to come together to update those codes and ordinances so that they can become more effective. It's not right for you to call if there's an issue with a neighbor. Yes, code comes out there within 24 hours, but then they give them a ticket or a citation. It takes weeks and months before the situation is resolved. That's not acceptable. We need to update our codes. We need to update our ordinances, and we need to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Ms. Tilley.
I think code enforcement is definitely important, but also helping people to understand our culture as they come into our city, letting them know what the standards are if they don't know, as well as making sure that they're fair. I had a resident complain to me because the code enforcer kept coming to him, telling him that he needs to move his vehicle, that's in his driveway that looks like it's not running, but it is running. So it's been sitting there for a couple of days. We don't need him to keep moving his vehicle as if it's on the street. So we need code enforcement. We need to have a strong culture, to keep our strong culture here, and not just push people to the side, but make sure they're a part of our culture and they understand our culture. And we need to have code enforcement to be fair.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. Ms. Jordan. One of my first accomplishments on city council was putting together a resident handbook, and that handbook outlined the various codes and the requirements of a resident moving into our neighborhood. And as Ms. Tilley said, we do need to introduce the culture to new residents that move here. Recently, I introduced on the city council, and my colleagues agreed, is the community neighborhood walk. And what we wanted to do was to get into each neighborhood, and we picked 12 neighborhoods to take a look at, see where there was violations, what do we need to do to strengthen that neighborhood and make it better. There are some ordinances that need to be changed. I believe that we've got to give our code enforcement officers some different tools, some more enforcement tools to make code enforcement work. One of the ordinances that needs to be changed is the ugly grass that's allowed in the front yard. And so we allow that as one of our codes on our books. So that needs to be changed because some of the neighbors don't like that.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Mr. Seidman.
I think we all agree that we want to maintain Southfield as an attractive community, and yet in campaigning for the last 6 months, I've heard lots of frustration from residents about code enforcement. As mayor, I will call for a total review of our codes as well as our code operations. I also, as a city councilman last year, and again, I would propose that we hire more code officers and shrink the territory that they are required to cover. And finally, as this council, every time there's a new site plan approved, the council gets the petitioner to sign a perpetual maintenance agreement. Yet, the perpetual maintenance agreements in many instances are not maintained. Look at some of our gas stations. Everyone was remodeled, and yet look at the landscaping. Those perpetual maintenance agreements need to be enforced.
Thank you, Mr. Seibert. Mr. Brightwell?
Code enforcement leads directly to property values. When I'm talking to the neighbors, and that is a resounding revelation to them. I'm talking to them and indicate that is a direct property value issue with code enforcement. My platform will pretty much we will preach the fact that all citizens are able to report code enforcement, and I will make sure that every new resident get a homeowner's manual, and they will obviously be responsible for whatever is in that homeowner's manual. In talking to individuals and walking the neighborhood, I've had to call our code enforcement officer, Marie Calhoun, numerous times because people bring it up to me. Once I mentioned to them that code enforcement leads directly to property values, their ears light up and their eyes light up and said, oh, great, here's the issue here. And I talked to our officer, and she's responsive, and we got good results on it.
Thank you, Mr. Brightwell. Mr. Cruz.
When I purchased my home earlier in this year, I was very impressed by the fact that my neighbors stopped by to educate me on Southfield standards, which I thought was amazing. And I think when we all, as residents, have a responsibility to do that. That's what helps build stronger neighborhoods for us all, to have those conversations and get to know our neighbors. But beyond that, we do need an overview and revision of current codes and ordinances as it relates to our neighborhoods. And I would also like to see some better educational type courses, maybe instead of the citations being punitive financially and so forth, that they may be required to take courses and be educated about the neighborhoods and how to maintain their residencies as another way to approach that. So, and of course, as always, if we could reduce the area that the code enforcement officers have to survey, which will, of course, cost them more resources, we should try to do that if we have that as an opportunity as well.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. A lot of really good questions came in tonight, but we're running out of time, so I'm going to ask one more question. I apologize for not being able to get to all these great questions. So the last question, we'll start with Ms. C.C.A. Thompson. What is your vision for the Northland Mall area?
So, in talking to several residents and looking at the background that I have, I've shared with them I would like Southfield to become a state-of-the-art city, starting with research and development. Research and development ties the hospital, it ties K-12 education, it ties Oakland Community College, it ties universities, it ties researchers and young entrepreneurs who want to come here and create their startup companies using new technology and research. Create that, and that will be a destination where people want to come to Southfield. You draw in young people, and you draw in your K-12 educators in STEM. Again, that's my background, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You draw that to that area, Southfield becomes a place, a sustainable area. Northland is a catchment area right at the beginning of Southfield, and a state-of-the-art location for not only the city, but for the state.
Sorry,
In contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lance.
When we start talking about Northland, I get a little upset. We have bought Northland, the city, with your tax money. I disagree. Northland is going to be a big failure. We can't develop it. It has to be cut into pieces to be sold to business. That would work. But I don't think we, the city, can make any money or bring in people to renovate Northland. It's too expensive, it's too dangerous, and I would not agree with doing it. But I hope something good happens to Northland, but I don't have any faith in it. There's too much trouble there.
Thank you, Mr. Lance. Ms. Moore.
I'd like to see Northland as a mixed-use facility that is the gateway into our city. The first thing that you see when you cross 8 Mile. And so Northland, as well as the adjacent space to Northland, walkable communities, housing development, retail, healthcare, education, technology. We want to bring in young working families into our city, so some place where they can take their children. A mixed-use development that is the starting point of our city. I'd like to see that.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. As chair of the Planning Commission, we've already taken initiatives to help with Northland by rezoning Northland. It's now a multi-use property, which means that when it's torn down, it's going to bring in tax revenue to the city by putting in homes. They can bring in entertainment, they can bring shopping. It's mixed use. So there's a lot of things that now can go into Northland that had we not had the foresight and brought this before council to have it rezoned may take a little bit longer to do. So I'm in favor of improving Northland and bringing in tax-paying businesses, residents, and entertainment, and just making Northland that entryway, that gateway into the city of Southfield, which it was at one time and it will come back again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Ms. Tilley.
I would love for that location to be a walkable entertainment district. We have neighboring cities like Birmingham, Ferndale, Royal Oak that have great entertainment districts. I would like to see us do that, something like a Partridge Creek in Macomb or Fountain Walk in Novi. We have over 200,000 people in the city of Southfield before 5 o'clock. After 5 o'clock, we go back to 70,000 residents. I would like to capture some of those people after work, as well as bring in more people. So I think that would be a great use for that area.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. Ms. Jordan.
Having voted in favor of Northland, it was an easy decision to vote for. However, the city didn't want to purchase Northland just to own a mall. What we wanted to do is control the development and redevelopment of Northland. It is the gateway to our city. When you cross 8 miles there, Northland is. So what I like to see there is a mixed-use retail, hospitality, apartment, hotel development that is creating, exciting, well-planned, and precise. And selecting, what you have to do is select the right developer that knows the people that want to come here. And we know that there are many people that are already lining up to come to Northland. So it's going to be a great development for our city. All we have to do is wait and see it happen.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Mr. Seibert?
I also would like to see a mixed-use development at Northland, and also, very importantly, partner with Providence Hospital. Providence needs room to grow. They need more parking. They also want to build a fitness and lifestyle center to work in conjunction with their Heart Institute. I see housing there as well as retail. The beauty of Northland is that it's got great infrastructure with 2 freeways, mile roads, and so on. I want to correct something that was said earlier. I had to resign from council in the spring. At that time, the numbers on Northland were mush, and I could not support the purchase of Northland 6 months ago because there were no hard figures on what it would take to demolish the mall or what the other bids were. I mean, there were figures like $5 million to buy it, which didn't come to pass. We still don't know how much exactly it's going to be to tear the mall down. There's asbestos and lead and other things there. But I do believe we will get our money back because it's 114 acres of prime property.
Thank you, Mr. Seibert. Mr. Brightwell?
I'm for a mixed-use location there, and understand there are numerous interested parties. And I think the purchase of Northland is a good idea because I think it forestalled a whole lot of problems if it stayed there vacant. But I would make sure our business development department brought plans to the city council on a regular basis from national developers. Someone would do a demographic study and determine what can be supported around Northland from a 10 to 20 mile radius. And I would definitely require that the business development department bring something to the council once a month at a bare minimum. But the bottom line is I'll be supportive of mixed use, R&D, housing, and whatever else that would be categorized with respect to the city of Southfield and our basic standard and what we stand for.
Thank you, Mr. Brightwell. Mr. Cruz?
Having spent so much in terms of taxpayer dollars to purchase that land, I think the first thing we should do is talk to the taxpayers to see what, in fact, they would like to see in that area. We should also bring in professionals that can help us, give us some schematics and some ideas and designs about what could go there. I think like anybody else, I think they've all kind of said a nice walkable community is kind of the general idea. Living spaces, something like the Arbor Loft on Evergreen could be over in that area, along with restaurants, along with shops, coffee shops, restaurants, maybe some shopping stores like a Target or a Macy's. I really miss those now that they're gone. You don't realize how much you use them until they're not there anymore. There's definitely a demand there for something for that as well. So I think a combination of all those things coming together, but I think it should definitely be a priority because we did invest a lot of taxpayer dollars and we need to start to generate those revenues back into the city.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Mr. Fracassi?
Yes. Northland was built around 1953, and it was better known, actually, than the city of Southfield, which was then a township when Northland was built. When the city found out that it was going to be going back to the present owners, we went and seen what kind of bids that were made on the project and who was bidding. And it was just going to be a disaster if it would have gone in any direction that was proposed. So the city did take the action, and we got into the bidding war. We paid $2 million for it. Since that time, we've acquired Macy's. They have given Macy's to the city freely. So we have investment, we got $1 million worth of building there. It's going to be probably a mixed use. And one thing that people forget is that Northland is #1 in the downtown development district, which needs tax dollars to keep it going. #2, it's in the Oak Park School District, and that hit was a big hit for Oak Park schools. So we want to make sure they get their revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Fracassi. Okay, that concludes the question portion of the forum. I will now call on all the candidates to give a closing statement, and we'll go in reverse alphabetical order. So we'll start with Ms. Tilley. 1 minute for closing statement.
Again, my name is Tiffany Tilley. I have been very active a very long time. I want to be a voice for the citizens of Southfield. I will be open. I will be accessible. I have the educational background, I have the professional background, and I definitely need your vote and your support so that I can represent you in the city of Southfield. Please vote for me November 3rd, Tiffany Tilley. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. Ms. Lenny Taylor.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and for all of you for attending and those watching it on TV. I have the experience and the skill set to properly serve the city of Southfield and all of you, the residents. On our way here tonight, how many orange barrels did we have to drive around and maneuver through? Well, with my experience from the Planning Commission, I know that Southfield needs to invest in quality materials. So using the quality materials will, in the long term, be a long-term solution to what currently is being viewed as a short-term problem. With my experience, I know that updating our infrastructure will attract residents and businesses. We need to update and modernize our codes, and we most importantly need to help our public safety. That's top priority for me in my community. I have experience during my appointment to the City Council of protecting and providing our police, fire, and EMS with new equipment and proper pay. I help prevent the outsourcing and privatization of the EMS services.
Sorry. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Tanya Morris.
For the past 17 years, I've ran a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping people improve their lives. I care about people, and I care about the city of Southfield. I'm eager to bring new ideas and energy into the office of council. I'm a mechanical engineer, and I have a unique set of skills, being trained to think logically, orderly, and systematically, always evaluating outcomes and processes, why things work, why they don't.
The library will close in 30 minutes. In a library card, I've got to do so now. If you need to call someone to pick you up, please do that.
I'm a forward thinker, a problem solver, and results driven. I'm a reasonable person willing to listen and discuss ideas for strategy and improvement. I look forward to working with our new mayor, whoever that may be, on the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for the city. For more information about me, please visit votetanyamorris.com. I look forward to your vote November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. You passed that test. Mr. Sidney Lash.
I'm going to try to remember what I wrote. As councilman for the past 32 years, I have been intimately involved in the growth and development of Southfield as a prosperous and diverse city. We must continue to closely monitor development without compromising our standards. We must make capital improvements to our aging infrastructure with better sewers, roads, bridges, and buildings. I have the spirit to continue challenging the status quo. The enthusiasm and vision to meet new challenges, and I want to continue serving my city as the man who cares. I'm finished.
Thank you, Mr. Lance. Diane CBA Thompson.
Those who know me know that before I make a decision, I'm data-driven, and I like all stakeholders' perspectives represented before a decision is made. I will include your voice in decisions that are made as a city council person. Those perspectives are very important to the vision of Southfield. As a leader, you have to have a vision. I'm not thinking about Southfield for tomorrow, for next year. I'm thinking about your children and your children's children in 20 years? What will Southfield look like? When I talk about science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, that has been my life for the past 15 years. Research and development, technology, bringing those kinds of things to Southfield. Those are sustainable things that can remain in our community and be an innovative initiative for our children that exist here now and children in the future that will benefit every aspect of Southfield, seniors, families, individuals, and our community. I look for your support on November 3rd. Diane Fusilier Thompson, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fusilier Thompson. Donald Percassi.
Yes, I'd like to just compliment all the residents of the city and take this opportunity to do so. In 2008, the city was pretty much hurting economically, physically, and financially. And it was because the people here in this community voted 5 mills for public safety, $99 million for roads. And these things had a real effect on us because we were able to have the awards that we're getting now in public safety, meaning fire and police. We've been able to have the largest construction season for roads in Oakland County. So your money has to be spent because we have to share money with the county and the state when we provide roads. So there's many, many things that you have provided to the city as tools so we could be where we're at. In the first 3 months of this year, we led economic development in southeast Michigan. We brought a whole world here. We brought Elring Klinger, Dirt Corporation. Anyway, you have to be very, very proud that you live in Southfield, and it's going to be better yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Percassi. Lloyd Cruz.
Again, thank you to the League of Women Voters and for everyone that's here this evening. To see a number of concerned citizens is a wonderful thing to see. I run on the campaign of Southfield is a city that's too good not to be great. And I mentioned it from the very onset that you were going to hear a lot of the same things from all of us about fixing our roads, maintaining our neighborhoods, and maintaining public safety within the city. And we have done a good job in doing so. In order to be great, we do need to have a clearly defined vision for this city. And if elected in November, on November 3rd, I will call for the council to go and to have a retreat, to spend some time visioning as a group. We do not spend enough time with each other, talking to one another outside of meetings. Therefore, you have 7 different people, 7 different ideas, and nobody has found the common ground or takes the time to find the common ground on what the key things are that we can get accomplished in the city. So I would like to have a 2-year plan with very measurable goals and outcomes, so come the next election, you as residents will have something to judge us by when you make your selection next time around. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz.
Awesome. 2 minutes and you can do it.
Daniel Brightwell.
Okay, if that's it, please, we're going to be retired. And I have some significant responsibilities at AT&T. I was responsible for a $100 million per month billing operation, and also the AT&T Michigan $6 billion asset base. And I carried it over from the standpoint of being very active here in the various activities here in Southfield, to the extent that the city council made me an emergency appointee to the tax board of review. Why did they do that? Because I'm dependable, I get things done, and I know how to count with big numbers. But the primary thing is I'm a known entity, I get things done, and I definitely appreciated that. But I want your support. You will realize that you will have a person on council that can bring a whole lot of corporate experience and corporate knowledge and a worldwide view by the fact that I have an MBA from one of the best world business schools in the country, in the world, as a matter of fact. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brightwell. Councilman Stiver.
I believe I will make a great ambassador for Southfield, and I will be the people's mayor. I ask voters to look at my track record in this community, which covers nearly 50 years of public service, 45 as a teacher and administrator in our schools, 41 years on the Magnolia Board, Neighborhood Board, 37 in the Southfield Dem Club, 35 years in the Southfield Area Council PTA, 32 years with the Southfield Historical Society, 30 years of active participation in the Martin Luther King Task Force, 17 years coordinating volunteer days, 14 and a half years on city council, 10 years in the Parks and Garden Club, 8 years as the annual Garden Walk Chair, 10 years in the NAACC, 5 years, and current president of the Southfield Nonprofit Housing Board. I've written 3 histories on our city, given numerous mid-century modern and realtor tours. I have 3 years working on the Baseline Project, and more years than I can remember as a Southfield Goodfellows volunteer. I am not a Johnny-come-lately. I have decades of dedicated service to this city and its people. I ask for your vote on November 3rd.
Thank you, Mr. Stiver. Sylvia George.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. You know, this election, the mayor as well as the council, is a very critical election for our city. And the question is, what type of leadership do we want? My opponent, when he left the school in shambles. And our present superintendent is having to navigate those very, very tough challenges. We do not need collateral damage of that type of politics in the office. We need visionary leadership. I am committed to Southfield. I've served in this city for over 16 years as councilwoman, lived in this city over 28 years, married for 31 years, raised 2 children, and now have a son-in-law and a great, beautiful granddaughter. I'm committed to strengthening our neighborhoods, restoring the hours of operation of our library, committed to the police and fire, keeping all of us safe and secure, welcoming businesses and
Hands up, I'm sorry. We don't allow personal attacks or for other candidates. So I would like to give Mr. Stiver the opportunity to respond.
Amen.
Well, first of all, the schools are not in shambles. We have an aging...
Please hold your applause.
I'd like to hear it.
We have an aging population in this city, and there is a lot of competition for public education today. We will never see 16,000 students in our schools again, but the Board of Education plan for reorganizing the schools is a sound one. We've talked for almost 20 years about consolidating our 2 high schools. And quite honestly, the kids in our high schools are being cheated today because we cannot offer enough of the electives and high-end courses because you don't have a critical mass of students at either high school. So something needs to be done, and nobody wanted to give up the Chargers or the Blue Jays, but honestly, after 20 years, it's time to address this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Stiver. Okay, that concludes our forum. I would like to thank the audience. I would like to thank all the candidates for participating tonight. Thank you to those, hang on, just a few more minutes and then you can applaud. Thank you to the library for hosting us tonight, and thank you to Cable 15 for taping the forum tonight. When we know the rebroadcast time, we will post them on our website, and I'm sure Cable 15 will have them on their website also.
And thank you for
Also, on the league's website, LWVOA, there is a voter guide with information on these candidates and other issues. I would encourage you to visit lwvoa.org. Don't forget to vote on November 3rd. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.